talk about it too much, before the comps are locked in and everything. But I did get a little message from Chaz, very fired up, saying that we're gonna eat them alive. Let's go. You guys are gonna,
Brilliant.
Oh, they're doing my strat. I love this strat.
He said NASCAR. That was the word he used. He said be prepared for NASCAR. So I think we're going fast here, gentlemen.
All right, well, buckle up. It's time for NASCAR. Method Black versus nLite. The gates opening. Whoever wins this series goes to the grand final. Whoever loses is no longer in the tournament. They bow out in third place.
So this is going to probably be a Death Grip Zuniaki, Chill Streak, and then run at Zuniaki until he dies strategy. Chaz is playing Orc Relentless, so he's going to get out of so many freezing traps. He gets stunned into a freezing trap, he adapts out. Then the next freezing trap, he gets reversed magicked. All Chaz has to do is stand on top of his team in Ghost Wolf, tank them with the Ghost Wolf healing, and run at Zuniaki. Let's see if nLite can deal with this aggressive Zug cleave strategy. It is incredibly difficult to deal with as the Mistweaver Monk because you're so limited on your mobility with that Heartstop Delirium if the Death Knight is able to stay on target. But right now, Zuniaki actually cleanly got away. Method Black need to find a way to get back to him ASAP.
Yeah, well, with the jungle cleave, it's always considered to be one of these compositions that's a little bit more squishy, but you do have a lot of utility there. You have the Roar of Sacrifice, the Hand of Freedom, essentially from the Hunter as well. So the Hunter brings a fair few tools. Feral, obviously, with the off-healing as well. So Zuniaki isn't alone in this battle, but he is going to have a tough time. We can see the Life Cocoon being forced out off of that Death Grip from Swapsy. The question is kind of how do they lose the game, Method Black? Right now, if you look at it, mana is a tough resource for them. Chaz taking a lot of damage on Swapsy. He had every single defensive cooldown, but caught off guard by the Drestigaths and nLite, making light of Method Black's strategy.
I've never seen a Death Knight die.
That was fast.
You know my favorite part of NASCAR? The crashes. Zico, let's talk about how NASCAR panned out for him, and let's talk about what goes wrong.
The analogy keeps going.
I had the best analogy, man, and it wasn't muted a single time.
You're muted? Oh,
I was muted, man. They missed it.
It takes two to crash. So let's actually talk. Let's talk about what did happen. What went wrong for them, even though they thought that they had such a good answer to go into nLite.
Yeah, I mean, they completed that first lap, and then they were going to swap out their tires. Everything was going good, but all of a sudden, they got some bad parts, and they weren't able to finish the race here. And instead, big accident happened. Mr. Drestigath came in, driving on the wrong side of the road. I don't know. I don't even, I don't have a license. I'm kind of off base right now. But yeah, I blinked for a second. No one, I literally heard the healing stat. Yeah, right now, how do Method Black actually lose? And I was just like, yeah, I mean, everything looks fine right now. They had a nice strategy with the, Orc adaptation. You can't trigger it on a stun because there's no stun that's going to be long enough to trigger the adaptation. So you can only trigger it on the freezing traps. And then they were going to use the reverse magic to reverse some of those traps. But I think Swapsy just didn't see that coming. I mean, nobody did, honestly. I blinked for a second and he was just dead.
Now, Healing said, as somebody who's competed in situations like this, what do? Do you play that composition again, even though you saw the loss? Do you shake the loss off and say, we didn't really see what our composition can do if you're Method Black? What do you do when you're playing against Zuniaki?
Well, Method Black's theme so far in these tournaments has been, okay, let's try some of our own stuff. Okay, yeah, that didn't work out so well. So what did Wildcard pick to beat Jungle last? I don't know. Yeah, Warrior Mage. Warrior Mage could be good. I wouldn't mind seeing that, to be honest. I mean, Waz has been playing the Warrior. We've seen Raiko on the Mage. It could be something they go for. At the same time, it's difficult to take a game loss like that, right? Like, it's very, I don't want to say random, because obviously nLite set up their burst perfectly, but Swapsy had answers. He had the IBF, he had the trinket. The only thing I was a little bit worried about for them, aside from that, was Chaz was already 50% mana in that game. We know Shaman throughput healing not to be the best, so nLite will get opportunities where people aren't at 100% health. So I'm not super convinced that that was the matchup they were looking for.
Yeah, and it's very tough, like you did say, to not be results-oriented in your thinking when the results are that glaring, right? So will we see them go back to strategies that maybe worked on other jungle cleaves? Will we see them actually try to mirror what we saw Wildcard Gaming do? That is going to be the question as we do get into our second game. But keep in mind as well, I have brought it up a few times, but I really do think it's one of the most important things to keep tucked away in the back of your mind. nLite already beat Method Black in this tournament 3-1. For anybody who didn't see that series, Super Tees, what really was the story? What were the compositions that we did see?
I mean, they tried a lot of the wizard setups, but they just stopped working. They couldn't dampen them with the Mage Warlock. They kept trying to dampen them with like a late game Mage Warlock game, and nLite just out dampened them over and over. So I don't know if it's a case where you can actually. It's weird because jungle used to be the comp where it's like, wow, I feel bad for them. They have to win fast. They can't win any other way. And now it's like, no, you actually have to beat the jungle fast, or they dampen you. It's like the dampened have become the dampeners. Here for nLite.
I mean, when you have to go into dampening so many times, you're born in it, you're molded by it, you become the damp. And it's definitely something that we have seen them do really well, right? I agree full-heartedly. And Zico even mentioned, he was like, if we go to a bigger map, I want to see the jungle try to play for dampening. You have to play to the map that you are on. Now this time, we're going to Blackrock Hold, and nLite kind of loves this map at this point.
Yeah, I feel like Blackrock Hold it's their go-to map when they lose game number 1. So I think they're not too bothered by this lock-in by Method. But I think it's going to be hard to kind of tell what they want to do. Maybe Method just feels like, you know, we can't really... like, we had every button available still and we died. Like, we can't, you know, blame that on the composition. You always got to look. Was it our comp or was it our execution? And sometimes you can have a convincing loss or, you know, a loss like that, and it could just be chalked up to, you know, an individual mistake. But sometimes it can be like, okay, well, this was our plan and we weren't actually even able to execute on that before we died. So regardless, what we wanted to do didn't work out despite that mistake. And you got to kind of analyze that situation and then take it from there if you're Method Black, because we know they have a lot of answers.
Yeah, and I think there are so many factors that you mentioned as well, where it's like, okay, yeah, you just get hit by a Drest, and you're like, okay, we messed up. We didn't see that one coming. We can play better in the next one. We'll find out very quickly, though, where Method Black's mental is after that first game. They only have a few seconds here, and there it is. They're going to the turbo. How do you feel about the turbo here, healing stats?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a matchup that can go either way as well. Definitely with Zuniaki on the Mistweaver, I give nLite a good shot in this one as well, though. I mean, if this is your counter pick, I think the first game, this is the thing for Method Black, right? They know exactly what nLite's playing every single game. Game 1, they get completely blown out of the water. Swapsy dies through every cooldown. Game 2, they're locking in a matchup that we've seen already nLite is very comfortable in and capable of winning. So I definitely still think nLite has the advantage in this one. And for Method Black, it's so strange, right? Because we're so used to this being the team that has an answer for everything, but they're going up against what is essentially 3 players just playing their main composition, and they don't seem to be able to crack the code just yet.
Well, and I mean, look at it this way, though. They thought that they did have the answer, right? I mean, the only reason that we know that is because Zico obviously getting to talk to them before this matchup started. But I mean, it wasn't like they casually were like, yeah, I think we know what we're gonna do. They were like, zug zug, NASCAR baby, zoom zoom, easy clap, too easy, and all of a sudden they get deleted in that last game. They're sent to the Shadowlands a little bit prematurely, and now the question is, will they be able to get back in this series? Will they be able to find a win with the turbo? Turbo looked so gosh darn convincing earlier in the day, but I think that nLite's made it pretty clear that they are the best jungle that we've seen right now. Would you disagree with that, Zico, or do you feel like nLite's just proved their dominance?
I feel like I've been saying that for a while now. nLite is the best jungle right now. But I think what's really interesting about this matchup here is that Well, there's a couple of things, but the main thing is that Wildcard refused to run the enhanced shaman when they were fighting nLite, in the last series, and Wildcard did use the enhanced to beat My Way, which was Hydra's jungle, right? So, I mean, there's gotta be some kind of war game result or something that told Wildcard like, hey, okay, we don't want to be enhanced against these.
Do you think it's the monk?
And now Method Black.
Do you think it's the monk?
I mean, I think the monk definitely plays a big factor, but it could also be that Swapsy feels more comfortable on a melee over his Ellie shaman. Well, actually, I don't think that's true because I know that he's been keeping his Ellie polished. So I don't know. I think Method Black are running out of answers, and I think there is a chance that they will lose here. And if they do, I think the only thing left is to bring in Waz, go back to the comfort, go Rogue Mage Pally, do basically what Wildcard did, just go to your main comp and see if you can win that.
Yeah, and this is crazy. I mean, just think about what can happen. No matter what happens in this series, this is always a great feeling. You know that we're going to have an incredible grand final, right? You're either going to have a rematch where a jungle makes it all the way to the grand final, not something that we necessarily expected, or we're going to get that wild card versus Method Black final that has happened so many times. At this point, though, it looks like nLite has managed to get in the heads of every single team that there is in this tournament, and we're going to find out on Blackrock Hold if they're going to be able to keep that momentum going. I do think that seeing Blackrock Hold is really interesting. As you did mention, nLite usually picks this map game 2 if they do lose in game number 1. Do you think that's Method Black trying to get it out of the way, Zico, on their own terms? Is it almost like a little bit of a steal pick, or do you think it's a lack of research?
No, I think that they saw the matchup against My Way, or that's what they did in the matchup against My Way, rather, Method Black. They locked in Blackrock Hold, and then they had a kind of a strategy where they wanted to go after Hydra on the Priest. I think they just want to do essentially the same thing here, but I think it could backfire since, we are against a Monk healer and not a Priest healer, and also I feel like My Way, this is not like, I feel like every team has kind of their go-to map where they try to set up a really nice win condition. And for Wildcard, usually it's like Blade's Edge where they like to go, at least historically. And for nLite, it is Blackrock Hold. So I think they just don't really care that this is their comfort. They just think the map is going to favor us more, so we're going to lock it in regardless of if they like it or not.
Well, let's see how that does play out for him. nLite going to be leading by 1 as these gates get open. Method Black is trying to even the scale.
Let's see if the turbo works out for Method Black here, because if it doesn't, what other options do they have? They're sort of at their limit in terms of strategies. Swapsy and Waz charging forward towards Facile. Zuniaki playing very far back. Waz leaps over to Cassidy. Chaz rolls to center tomb. Who's going to get crowd control first, though? Both Mistweavers are free at the moment. Zuni pulling away from Chaz, trying to max range that paralyze. Facile gets stunned up as Swapsy and Waz are going to pop off. Huge pressure with that heroism activated. They're trying to find a life cocoon here before going for the ascendance. Can they find it? Chaz gets swapped to. Huge damage here over onto him. That's the rally from Waz to stabilize. That was just Cassidy. Now they trap Chaz on the rally. Everybody is getting whittled down here by Method Black, and that rallying cry's boosted health is going to fade shortly if they want to switch back to Chaz. I don't like Chaz being on top of the cleave at the moment. He's going to roll forward, look for crowd control, gets rooted on his roll. Cassidy intercepts him. Cassidy absolutely owning Chaz at the moment. Waz is trying to force him away. Facile pushing forward as well. Cassidy finally getting stunned off Chaz. He gets a moment to breathe. Maybe not. They storm up Facile on the grappling hook. They stop the freezing trap for now. But Chaz needs to be aware of that freezing trap. Facile is being pressured. Good damage between Swapsy and Waz so far.
Yeah, I mean, nLite are just so good on this jungle cleave, finding swap after swap, really keeping Method Black guessing, though to Chaz's credit, he held onto the life cocoon that entire time. Meanwhile, Zuniaki had to trade out his, and that's obviously the big immunity cooldown for these Mistweaver monks. We see a trap now over onto Chaz, still has that major cooldown. Waz in trouble, has to use the rallying cry, presumably running the short rally. There's still a bash here on Chaz. He's going to have to use that life cocoon on someone in the near future, although it looks like he's actually able to escape this one. He uses that aura mastery, able to top them off. Great great healing by the Method Black Mistweaver Monk here. We'll have to see whether he can keep it up through this game, because nLite, it just takes one of those stun opportunities. The double stun, it's not going to proc Conflict. They're going to be able to get that kill over onto the Mistweaver. He's playing the Relentless. There's another stun coming through. The Drastic F coming through. Preemptive Vitality Conduit, but the Safeguard still procs. Trouble for Method Black.
Ooh, triple fear there by Waz, set up into the leg sweep on Cassidy. They've isolated the Feral Druid. They're trying to gun down for the kill, but Lingering Psychic Shell active on Cassidy means he's likely not to go down. Waz now activating his Lingering Psychic Shell, as I believe all 4 damage dealers are running that tank trinket. Chaz trying to retreat back in the room, and this is why Method Black picked this. An Enhancement Shaman is never going to hit Zuniaki, but a jungle is going to hit Chaz. So Chaz benefits as the Mistweaver Monk that can be targeted to utilize these rooms to roll into line of sight or portal out and in. So this map is working really well for Method Black. Waz, though, is low on health. Ring of Peace from Chaz. Right, and will he be able to survive? He gets stunned! Oh my goodness! Barely surviving on 10%. Facile now taking a beating. He is being punished for chasing Chaz, but trapped on the life cocoon. Ends up breaking a bit early. That's unfortunate there for nLite. That could have been a huge opportunity. They're going to grapple weapon Waz, slow down some of his damage. Mana even between the healers. A very close game 2 between nLite and Method Black.
Yeah, it's been very back and forth. I mean, every single time nLite, you know, they're definitely the team with the most threat, though this is a lot of damage over onto Facile. Does have access to that aspect of the turtle, though Vitality Conduit traded out instead. Bloodlust coming in from Swapsy. Big damage from the melees on this Turbo Cleave, but now they're trying to reverse the pressure. Double stuns on Chaz. Is he able to get out? Looks like he's going to trade out the Vitality Conduit, Ring of Peace, kite away. His entire team, though, is dying. Vitality Conduit distributes health, and there isn't much health to distribute on the side of Method Black. Chaz has some catching up to do. Cassidy never lets him relent. Forces out that life cocoon with a wild charge. Now the trap as the pressure continues from nLite, looking to go 2 in the series.
Interception by Waz, fear into Stormbolt, trying to stall for Chaz. Manages to buy enough time. Chaz is out of crowd control. Zuni building a slight lead in terms of mana, 1 minute away from dampening. Will they be able to find a kill in time? nLite still continue to mix it up. They're jumping after Chaz. They interrupt him on a heal. Cassidy then switches over to Waz. If they can get a die by the sword with that interrupt, it would be crucial. But that Dark Iron Dwarf racial, the Fireblood, reducing a ton of pressure onto Waz. Nice racial choice there from Waz. They trap him at low health. A little peculiar. Now they go for the stun onto Waz, but it's on diminishing return. Perhaps nLite just trying to max out their damage. But mana is evened out now between the healers. Zuni getting that crackling Jade Lightning, pinning Chaz against the wall, amplifying the damage of his team. But now Cassidy gets leg swept on the opposite side. Zuni is forced to life cocoon. Now Swapsy switching his attention to Facile with that Ascendance. Big power cooldown for the Enhancement Shaman. Waz gets grapple weapon. Zuni's trying to stall and buy time for that Ascendance to fade, and he has. Both teams take a moment here. Dampening has just begun.
Yeah, Chaz actually made a really beautiful play in the midst of all that as well. He ported or used his Transcendence Portal on the trap, and then Waz, who had full bleeds, walked into the trap to remove all of that damage. Really nice play. And this is something Venruki was saying earlier. If they had a Discipline Priest on the side of nLite, something like that would be disastrous. That would be set up over. But because they have the Mistweaver Monk, they can just keep it going. They have so much mana. Zuniaki was able to sit down for a little drink there, got about 20% of his mana pool. He's now slightly ahead of Chaz as consequence of that. Dampening, as you said, Sid, it is kick-starting here. Waz, Chaz, and Swapsy, all of them losing health from this Vitality Conduit. The Drastic F forces out another major cooldown. Another trap breaks, though. Unfortunate for nLite. That could have been even more pressure coming in. On the side of Method Black, Chaz has just been doing such a good job of rotating through his cooldowns, but mana is now starting like it could be a little bit of a problem as well here, Sid.
Yeah, Zuni's got a pretty significant lead at this point in the game. Chaz is stunned up. Cassidy's going after him. Facile disengages to get on him as well. His Safeguard is going to trigger. He's trying to fake cast potential interrupts and roll away, but that Absorb has now been shredded. Everybody in trouble here on the side of Method Black. Rally available in 7 more seconds. Can they make it to that point? Freezing Trap is landed. Waz gets stunned up. He can't die by the sword for a moment. Immediately it trades the cooldown. Zuni interrupted. Swapsy's actually going after Zuniaki a little bit. Is he going to regret this decision? He is getting uptime at the moment, but now Chaz gets stunned. He breaks out, pops a Vitality Conduit, steals some of Waz's health for himself, but now both targets are low. Everyone in trouble here on Method Black. There's a lot of defense still available for nLite. They're desperate. They're trying to go after Zuni, but they get grapple weapon. Waz can't really attack. Swapsy's rooted in the room. Facile jumps over for what is likely a freezing trap. He's trying to get through the grounding. He fakes out the grounding totem. No, they're actually just going to go after Chaz. A bit surprising. I was anticipating the freezing trap here. Facile stunned up as they intercept the Hunter, trying to force them away from Chaz so they can't land that freezing trap. Cassidy going to trade survival instincts. Cassidy wants to go after Chaz, but Waz and Swapsy are babysitting here excellently, preventing him from pushing forward. Facile wants to land this trap. Will he be able to? They go for the bash. They go for the dress. They go for the drop. Will he just explode? Double fear by Waz. Buys time. Chaz ports back into the room and stays alive.
I can't believe Chaz is still alive. Chaz has been playing this godlike. On the side of Zuniaki, he's also been playing really, really well in this Mistweaver, but one mistake I've seen from him, might not even have time for that as Waz is dropping so dangerously low. One mistake I've seen from Zuniaki a couple of times, he's forgetting to relay his Transcendence portal sometimes. He's got to be careful with that, because it can expose you. That's why Swapsy was able to have so much uptime on that previous period of play. We see Psychic Shells being traded out by all DPS here for Seal, Swapsy, all of them using that tank trinket from Nazoth. Who is going to fall first? That is the question. Why is this caught up in a disarm? He has nothing left. The Life Cocoon comes through in the nick of time from Chaz, but he has no mana resource. The healing is starting to wane here for Method Black. 20% dampening. Either side could still take it, Sid, but I'm feeling like nLite's running away with this one.
Oh, Chaz stunned up by Cassidy. Cassidy tearing in, and nLite moved to match point. Method Black have to find an answer, or they are going to be out of the tournament. It would be the first time in a long time that Method Black don't make it to a grand final.
You read my mind. I was about to ask the same question. How long has it actually been since we haven't seen Method Black at least make it to the grand final, let alone win grand finals, right? But I mean, for the most part, I think we saw Method Black, getting to the finals of a lot of the community tournaments, but not necessarily winning all of them. But Zico, it's been a long time since we haven't seen this squad get to a grand final, and now they're just one map away.
I'm trying to think. I feel like the worst placement they've had in like the last 2 years has been at 1/3 place.
Yeah,
and wasn't it the first
in their first cup of last year?
Yeah, it was,
and that was it. Every other time they were grand final.
It was a year ago, and it was
and
third.
They won most of them, right? They won like 4 of them.
Yep, at least.
and then they won BlizzCon.
Casually.
They won summer finals.
I think they had a 3rd place finish where they literally Raikou didn't show up, and they still got top 3 in the tournament last year as well. So these guys are just all over the place. They're literally farming. But nLite, I don't know. nLite looks pretty insane today.
They definitely do. Let's talk about that next game. Then we'll really start leaning into what we expect to see, not only in the next game, but potentially the rest of the tournament, because this is wild. We have not seen this team in it's been over a year since they've actually been in a position where they might not make it to a grand final. Let's talk about what happened in this game to get nLite on match point, Zico.
I mean, it's what we were talking about a little bit before. What I was talking about in their series against Wildcard when they started kind of losing that steam against the Mage Warrior. I told them, the Monk is the key that opens up the game. When you go on the Monk, get him low, he uses Life Cocoon on himself, you trap up the Monk. While you were going on the Monk, he wasn't healing the others. They're going to be a little bit low. You're going to get a full trap, and then you're also going to have, a warrior maybe on 70% or a shaman, and then you go on one of them, and that's exactly what they were doing in this match. They were going after Chaz on that Monk, and Chaz played amazing this game, for the record. He pre-Aura Mastery, or, Thunder Focus, I think it's called for Monks, and he used, just the fake casts of Cassidy's kicks. If he just gets kicked one time, he could easily just die. So Chaz played a great game as well, but he wouldn't necessarily even have to be in that position if they just lock in a bigger map. I feel like especially these kind of alt monks, they need to realize the win condition of the enemy team is killing the monk on smaller maps. So if you're afraid of dying, if you're in a comp where you can die, you probably don't want to go to a smaller map. And the other thing as well is that Zuni was going for drinks really early, and I think that was kind of the tipping scales at the end there, because he still had some mana and Chaz didn't.
Oh man, what do you think we see in the next game, Zico?
RM Pala.
Yeah, they got to bring Raikou in, right, on the mage. I feel like that's what they haven't tried yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so Supertease, do you agree with that as well?
Well, looking at the draft, I think they're going to try Mage Lock. They're going to try and take the free win Tolvaron with Mage Lock and at least get one win.
And then go Rogue Mage?
And then maybe go Rogue Mage, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just don't want to see Raikou on a Frost Mage again.
Yeah,
did they play against them with Frost yet? I feel
smack
like
your
Frost
desk when you
also.
said
Frost also.
Yeah. It's just, I'm not a big fan of the Frost Mage, man.
Tolvaron Arena is locked in, like Sid did say, and now we're actually going to see Fire Mage and the Warlock backed up by the Monk for Method Black and Healing Stat. How do you think this will actually fare in potentially the last game of this series?
I feel very confident for Method Black in this one. I mean, they did this last week as well. They played a bunch of different comps, and in Game 7 they brought out MLM. It was the Frost version, as Zico stated, I think, on everyone's behalf. We'd much rather see Fire a little bit more explosive and fast-paced the games when you do swap the Mage from Frost to Fire. But I feel like Tolvaron, they've set it up well. There's a very good chance Method Black should be taking this game. But the only thing that's making me think maybe not is that they didn't lock this in initially, right? There must be a reason. Maybe they've been losing war games as this, but I feel like if Method Black has a really good MLM game, they should be at least pulling one back on the board here.
Yeah, Super Tease, what do you think some of the reasons that maybe we haven't seen this composition actually locked in yet could be? As Healing Set did start to allude to, there obviously have to be some reasons.
Well, they've lost before. I think it's the main point, but I feel like it's really hard to lose on Tolvaron. If you're fighting two melee classes and you're playing Fire Destro Monk, I feel like you have to throw really badly to lose with this specific matchup. nLite, I don't know what they're gonna do. I almost feel like nLite should just target Chaz, run him down. If he dies, we win. We're in the grand finals. If he doesn't, oh well, it's Tolvaron. Like a big deal. Now we get to pick our maps. I feel like just an all-out strategy might be better for them. They've got the pressure advantage too. If Chaz chokes, then it's just over. So, but if they just play the neutral game, I feel like Method Black are gonna just strangle them out, and then nLite are more or less, they're just like taxing themselves a 15-minute defeat. I'm not sure if it's worth it for them.
Yeah, so Zico, do you think that in a war of attrition, nLite would definitely lose this one? Do you want to see aggression like Super Tease has started to allude to?
On this map, I feel like you have to play for the dampening win condition. If you're nLite, you have to be the aggressor, but can never kind of overcommit. Like if you can't force any big cooldowns early on, I don't think it's the biggest issue, because those cooldowns are very likely to rotate back. And we did when they fought each other earlier on during Friday, I think they did actually play the Frost Mage Lock Monk with Raikou running the Lonely Winter kind of Deep Shatter Ice Form, big Frostbolt damage build, and from what I remember, they got wrecked. So I think going Fire here is the play, and I think I want to see Raikou go Greater Pyro and Memory of Lucid Dreams, and then just have that big combustion threat later in dampening to potentially secure them a kill, and then also have just the threat of being a Greater Pyro Mage in combination with the Warlock. I think compositionally, they should be in a good spot, Method Black.
Well, the matchup for the grand final may be decided here. It looks like Method Black has been able to set up a scenario that's looking pretty fantastic for him, but when you look big picture, nLite definitely has the hold over this series. If they can win this, they will head to the grand final.
All right, let's see what they can get done. Currently, they're posted up defensively. And, I mean, they could wait until deep dampening, maybe. We often see that. It's either like you're completely YOLO, you run in and it's do or die, or it's, all right, we're going to wait and see what happens in dampening. But Zuni actually gets caught in a poly that could open Method Black up to some potential here. Not finding any damage just yet. Method Black are just controlling Facile and Cassidy with Fear and Polymorph. Raikou blinks back. Oh, that Ring of Peace. I was actually wondering if we saw Ring of Peace locking Cassidy in the room, but it was actually Zuni's Ring of Peace. And nLite are going to play at the box, and they're going to go for that late game. Let's see if they can make it to that point. If they beat Mage Lock on Tolvaron, I mean, I already think they are the best jungle in the game, but it just affirms it.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be an uphill task for nLite. So when I was talking about this from Friday, obviously this matchup played out, but with Raikou playing Frost, and Raikou is one of those mages who I actually would potentially argue that he's the best Frost mage in the world. I don't think we've seen anyone else having the same level of success this expansion with Frost that Raikou's had. He's been doing such a good job. But on Fire, you can tell whilst he's been playing it a lot more, he's been playing the RM Power for their team, he hasn't been preferring it. That's a nice preemptive life kicking coming in from Chaz on the trap there. But for me, Raikou, like, I mean, he's a fantastic fire mage as well, but clearly he has a comfort preference towards Frost. We'll have to see how he does make it on the fire mage here. This is a good opportunity, nice stun setup coming in from Chaz, but it's just not super scary. I think they're going to get the life kick, and if they do, Zuniaki should be able to escape this. This is a lot of cooldowns from Method Black. Let's see what they can get done here, Sid.
Method Black on match point, facing elimination to nLite. I didn't think that I would ever see this. nLite have been improving so dramatically throughout the tournaments this year. Now able to get matches in almost a series away from Wildcard Gaming. Already beating Method Black earlier on in the tournament, looking to beat them a second time in the same tournament. Can they pull it off? Zuniaki gets feared away, but Raikou is being pressured. The damage from nLite is substantial, but Raikou gets a polymorph. At the same time, all of Method Black are stun locked. They can't really get any damage out, and Cassidy and Facile are on the run. Zuni ports back to their side and should be able to pick them up. That was a great deflection by the entire team of nLite, stun locking all three members of Method Black and retreating away from their assault.
Yeah, we can see Swapsy, maybe he's overstayed his welcome just a little bit here. Chaos Bots come flying, but damage definitely being exchanged on both sides. Zuniaki, of course, since he is playing the monk, he has the counteract magic talent. You can see how little mana he's having to spend to keep his team at high health against these wizards. But there is some scary opportunities here as Method Black once again looks for a swap over onto him. He's going to use the double healing sphere, keep himself alive. A nice wall as well coming in. Now looking to get aggressive. Do they ever trap off this over onto Chaz? It looks like Facile is throwing it, lands it easily. But the damage is not there right now. Raikou taking a bit. Drasticev's come in. Talk about damage. But the Aura heal should be enough.
Alright, Chaz trying to pick up Raikou. He's finally got him back to full health. I'm just double checking the build here from Raikou. I'd be surprised if he's not running full versatility. He is running versatility. Yeah, he's running enough that I think he's getting the maximum benefit. I really like that. This is one thing you want to make sure is when you're corrupting your gear, you want to corrupt the highest item level pieces. That'll give you the most benefit of the corruption. So he's got the corruption on his 485 gear, his 475 gear, and not going on anything that's lower, making sure that he's absolutely min-maxed. Freezing Trap lands. They go for the 50-50. They actually paralyze the Imp, so the Imp can't dispel. That was a nice adaptation from nLite to try and deal with that demon strategy of Swapsy. It unfortunately only gets them a life cocoon, but that could win them the game in the future. Zuni gets Ring of Peace out into the open by Chaz. They set up over onto Zuni. Double combo of crowd control and cooldowns. nLite being decimated at the moment. Zuniaki trying to power through that combo of Combustion and Dark Soul and manages to make it through alive.
Yeah, nicely played. I think one of the stories of this game as well that I'm really watching is Chaz's mana. During that setup, I think Chaz was able to go sit down for a couple of drinks because he was about 50% mana, but he really needs to consistently do that because I think that's one thing when you look at Cloud9. Cubsy's always, when they go aggressive, if they're going to get a kill, he's there, but otherwise, he's sitting down for those drinks. So Chaz needs to find those opportunities because Zuniaki hasn't had to spend a dime yet. He gets caught up in a full polymorph, but preemptively connects that Vitality Conduit, distributing health, and distributing health from a sheep is just going to heal up the sheep, so very efficient healing coming in here from nLite as they look to press on. Chaz going for a drink right now. The coil on the pet from Swapsy to make sure that there's no denial on that drink. Beautiful plays coming in from the three-time BlizzCon champion as Raikou blinks in, looks to get aggressive himself.
No, Zuni going to reposition to the opposite pillar. Doesn't want to stand on top of the casters. Cassidy chasing Raikou, but Raikou gates so far. There's no way they can chase, and they stack up for a double leg sweep. Nice punish by Chaz. Chaos Bolts are flying in. Cassidy activating that lingering Psychic Shell, absorbing the hits after that stun, but Raikou is being left open. Cassidy has to jump over, interrupt his Greater Pyroblast. I would say that it's a huge amount of damage on Raikou. I feel like I've not seen a Mage Lock pressured this much this early on. They land the Freezing Trap, but they dispel it with the Imp. Nicely done, but maybe the 1 second paralyze. The 1 second paralyze was enough to get cauterized. This is the best map for Method Black's comp, and I'm not even confident right now that they're going to be able to pull this off. nLite might reverse sweep them.
Yeah, this is, I mean, nLite, they're one game away from just advancing to the grand final and eliminating Method Black, the Cup 1 champions, the team that took Wildcard Gaming to that Game 7 last week. They're really cutting through them right now. As you see the Skull Bash come through, Raikou, without that cheat death now, is going to be vulnerable. I'm willing to bet those Drestigev trinkets are coming up soon as well. be very interesting to see if they can just get a one-shot wonder to finish off this series. nLite considering to push on. And like you said, Sid, every time I watch Mage Lock play against these melee cleaves, they just have the pressure, they have the map control. These guys are just all over Raikou, playing so aggressively. Zuniaki backing them up perfectly. They have to get crowd control onto him and actually force them back, because right now, nLite's game to lose once again for game 3.
So Chaz isn't running Vitality Conduit Major on a map where it is easy to drink. I feel like that might be the mistake that costs them the game. Vitality Conduit is so much healing. You activate that right before a stun, target's not going to die. I'm curious to see if it comes back to bite him. Zuniaki, though, in a polymorph. Raikou setting up damage on Facile. Big Chaos Bolt's in off the side, but Zuni gets the life cocoon. Facile should be all right. Cassidy is still pressuring Raikou. They're waiting for that Dark Soul threat to be over. He's going to Survival Instincts the Chaos Bolt, but even Survival Instincts can get cut through by that Dark Soul. They stay alive, they're staying on target, but Raikou repositions. He's in that wizard corner. Now Swapsy can intervene and fear Zuniaki, as well as cast Chaos Bolts onto Cassidy and Facile. I like this position from Raikou a lot better. Cassidy's going to switch back to Swapsy, so Zuniaki doesn't need to overextend to heal him back up to full. Good reaction to Raikou's reposition. Chaz is trying to drink. Zuni's trying to roll across midfield to stop him, but he gets feared, maybe, possibly, not able to get it. And Chaz's mana is very low. Even with the mana build, he's running out of mana. This is devastating for Method Black. Cassidy stuns up Swapsy. He's going after Raikou. Temporal about to fade. Actually switching to Swapsy. This damage is quite insane. I was not anticipating nLite to even remotely have pressure against the Mage Lock on Tolvaron Arena, but Chaz is almost out of mana, and 3 targets are low. Method Black, though, get triple crowd control. Double Mortal Coil to follow up. This is a beautiful engagement by Method Black. Cassidy has cooldowns to trade, though, and easily walks it off as he continues marching forward onto Raikou.
Yeah, regardless, that was still a very nice play there from Chaz. He was able to set up that double stun into the double coil from Swapsy. They needed that because they were really starting to struggle, but Raikou caught up in the stun. That's the ice block. Easily forced out. Chaz has no mana left. This is really scary. I believe he's going to be able to stay alive, but they just keep the spread pressure up, right? Like, they can force out Life Cocoon on one target, but they already have the other target pre-bled at about 80% health, so they're going to continue their pressure throughout this game. No combustion for about 20 seconds. Infernals are coming up. Method Black will get one last chance to make a huge push here, as the Infernals are now available. Combustion soon. Dark Soul soon. You're going to need those Survival Instincts for that setup, otherwise this could be game over. Still Method Black with that last chance in this one.
They need to set up a drink for Chaz. He's not going to win this game with the mana that he has. Maybe just closing the game out could be an option. He rolls up for a double leg sweep out of those Infernals. But now with Infernals and Dark Soul available, they should press those to drink. Scare them away from crossing midfield. Chaz moves into position to start drinking. And Swapsy should honestly just press Dark Soul while they're moving in to stop the drink. They stun Chaz. They stop it. He's not getting any mana back on his return here, but Cassidy is taking a beating. Zuniaki repositions and restabilizes. Can nLite do it? Get a 3-0. Swapsy now popping that Dark Soul. Chaos Bolt. Is there a stop? A nice stun there by Facile. They need another stop, though. Zuniaki rolls in, and Raikou could just be dead. Chaz has to Life Cocoon. He doesn't have the mana to keep pushing through this match, and nLite are almost about to do the impossible, beating Mage Warlock on Tolvaron Arena. Raikou gates out into center field. Cassidy chases after him along with Facile. He double blinks to try and max range for a greater power, but Facile's back on target. Cassidy switches to Swapsy for a moment, just bleeding him up and trying to tax Chaz's mana even further. They're back on target. The next time those Drestagats are up, it could be over. They get the Freezing Trap, they get the Drestagats, and they look like they're going to get the kill! nLite 3-0 Method Black. They beat Mage Warlock. They make it look easy. They made it look easy on the hardest map in the hardest matchup in the game. How did they just make it look easy?
Hardest matchup, first of all, you're going to talk about